Okay. That question that I had got from the last one that I did, the last live, and somebody was asking me about the rice hulls, and I didn't know anything about it. So I went and I did a little research on it because I wanted to know about it for myself. And I'm just going to read off some of my notes because I'm not, this is what I found, and I want to make sure that I don't leave anything out. So it says it's amendment, and it's improving drainage, improving water holding capacity, and aeration. So according to what I got, that's what it does, and says that its carbonized rice hulls is a very good soil fertilizer and conditioner. It has phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and some micronutrients vital to growing crops, which I like the part about what it's saying about the vital nutrients. Um, and then it says that one downside of it is that it's best used medium as 25% volume mixed with peat or core, but it standing alone, it performs well with those, but standing alone, let me see, don't seem to perform that well. Okay, so that's one thing about the rice hulls for the question that was asked of me before, and I didn't know the answer to that. And now my whole thing right now is okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? Because this is coming. It might be already here, but they just not letting us know. And according to the soil that I have gotten so far in 2023, it seems like it's already here. So, okay, so then, okay, what do we do now? So there was another question that somebody had asked me in the last live, and that was having to do with, well, why doesn't people use the soil off of their land and put that into their containers? And because I had said I'm going to be adding some of that into my containers. And what I got out here is they did start out doing that. People was growing in cans, like tin cans and stuff like that. And they started putting that soil from the field in there. And what they found was poor drainage, and it was really heavy. And so down the road, they came up with this stuff for your containers. And that is mixed in. First, you was using sand with it, and then they went to the peat and stuff like perlite, vermiculite, and things like that, lighter things in there, and start putting that into these soilless mixes. And I thought about when I had my raised bed garden, what did I do? What did I put in there? And I said, had to think about it for a minute. Then I said, oh, I know what I put in there. I used the native soil. I used the native soil. I mixed it with peat moss, bone meal, cow manure, and that's what I used to grow in when I had the raised bed. And I still is using the same thing, except for now in my containers, I'm gonna start adding some of that native soil into my containers, because I don't think if you add a lot and had all native soil in there, you had to make it too heavy and have a drainage problem and all that. But if you add some and then add some other things to it, you'll have life in there, and I think you'll have better as far as having something with some life and some good nutrition. So I wanted to answer those two questions because they had come up before when somebody was asking me about that, and I had just given my opinion on it. But this is what I found when I looked and found that Dr. Jackson at North Carolina was talking about. That's what he had to say. And also from that same information that I got out of there, they said there's like about 5 scientists at public universities that are studying these about this soilless mixture and trying to come up what are they going to do when they don't have peat moss anymore. So, because right now in the UK, according to what I found, it said that they have set it to limit or to stop in 2024 for hobby market. Then in 2030, it will go for the professional market. So that's the way they do. And some of the materials that are used in these soilless media is coconut products, bark, aged and composted barks, and rice hulls. And I just got through telling you about the rice hulls and what they're doing for that. And it seems like the rice hulls, it could be a good thing, but where the part on here that I don't like, I'm gonna tell you. Let me get back on here and tell you about this. What I didn't like about rice hulls, it said fresh hulls contain viable seeds. They tend to increase the pH. So it's like an alkaline product corrective. They perform poorly until they break down. And I found two things about how long it's going to take them to break down. 4 to 8 weeks in good conditions. That means everything is as it should be, 4 to 8 weeks. Or it could take a year or longer if there's no earthworms. So that's what I found out about that. Also, it attracts rodents. Well, I didn't like that at all because I have field mice. I live along the woods. And if I'm going to use the rice hulls out there and it's food for them, man, I will have a mess. So I didn't like that about them. So for me personally, it don't sound like something that I want to do. It also said that it can be used as cattle feed for cattle and horses. And but then I heard further down it said, but that's not really recommended. So I don't think they really know where they're going with that yet, but they said different things about it. Okay. So let's see here. All right. So that's what I found on the rice hulls, and that seems like something that people are doing right now. And I talked about the materials that are being used. Some of the things that they're looking at as possible, they're just looking at this is all experimental. They're just trying to do something because the demand is so high for these soil, because the demand is so high for gardening things now. So they're trying to get something that they can get that's working, that they can get their hands on. And they looking at hemp fiber and miscanthus and also biomass crops. Okay. So am I still buffering? I was buffering terrible, I guess, before, and I'm going to delete that video. So I'm wondering if this one is still buffering, because if this one is still buffering, then I just may as well give up on trying to do that. But if you can see and hear me, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. So one thing that Dr. Jackson said from North Carolina University, he said, do your own homework. He stressed that. Do your own homework. Okay, let's see. Ooh, I can't see in these glasses. Oh, no buffering. Oh, no buffering now that it's to warm me out. Thank you for letting me know. Um, he said, do your own homework. He said, read labels. He said that your go-to thing that you may have been using may have had some type of starter. I don't know what this is, but starter, charger, nutrient in it. And he said these peat alternatives may not have that in it. And so he just wants you to know. So don't be expecting the same thing. So don't be expecting it to be the same results that you used to have. And he also said that there's no replacement for peat moss. There's really, you're not going to get the same. So ain't no need even expecting that. He didn't say it like that. I'm paraphrasing, but he said there's no replacement for it. He said that. He said he suggests you buy a small bag or something and, test stuff out before you go big. He said, don't go big on something until you've tested it out. And that was the same thing that I said. And I believe that to be true because people who haven't done that, they have had disasters. And he said, think about your location. Because if you are in New York or you in Florida, you have different requirements. You have different environments, and there's a lot of different variables that you have to consider depending on your location. So he said, think about temp, sunlight, humidity, cloudy days, sunny days. He said, these are all factors that's going to play into how something is going to work for you or not work for you. So I think that that's what they're going to be finding is that before the peat moss was pretty much work. Everybody could use the peat moss. They put that in everything. But now it's going to be depending on what they use where. It may not work in some places and work good in others. So I think that's what we're going to be looking at. And he said the most probable thing that they probably going to do is this engineered wood fibers to fill the void, because apparently that's something that they can come up with. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask me about soilless mix or what we're going through? And I have found that they're doing this already. I have already experienced it. And if you have any experiences where you had a product that was good, or now it isn't, or you had some soil dropped off at your place and it was disastrous, which some people had shared that last time. And so just because I wanted it to be like a discussion, but it started out so bad with all that buffering. So that's where they're going. That is where they're going. And that that does not make me happy, because all that wood and stuff I have found does not work well for me. And but they say they have a lot of increased demand. And there's a lot of potential. This is what he's saying. There's a lot of potential in the true non-composted wood fibers. So they still keep going back to that wood. That's where they're going. So I just wanted to come up and kind of put that in there, because I had talked about a problem, but then I didn't really get to, well, what you going to do about the problem? We got this problem, but what are they going to do about it? So this is where they're going with it. So that engineered wood stuff, he said that's the most probable of what's going to happen. And we're just going to have to wait and see, how this is going to play out. Because I'm thinking I can see a lot of potential for a being, because I can see putting some people will make a good product and some products will be good. But then I can see that there would be a place where some people just be putting anything out there. So buyer beware. It's going to be up to you to do your homework, to read those labels, like Dr. Jackson said, and to decide, buy something small and see how it works out for you. And that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to try to, amend my soil and lean more to the way things used to be done, with more of your natural native soil mixed in with some other things to lighten it up for a container so that it can have some life in it. So that's the way I'm going. So I think that there we go. I had all these questions that came up for me. Once I got into this, I didn't even know it was going to go this way. But once I got into it, it kind of led me to having more and more questions and realizing this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is really going to, not just for the backyard gardener, but for commercial people too. Because if they can't get their hands on that, and then what they're going to be growing in. So this is really a big change that is, I believe it's already here, but it's not the full effect of it yet, because they haven't really said that they're limiting it, although some people are already limiting it. And some people are already putting products out that's just totally wood chips. So it's up to you to decide whether you're going to buy those products or not. And if you do buy those products, is it going to work for you? So that's a big concern for me. So I'm going to lean toward that native soil. I'm going to lean heavily toward native soil, compost, cow manure. I haven't had any problems with that. Bone meal. Those are the types of things that I'm going to lean toward. I'm going to not be trying to get so much bag soil or anything like that. Now, the bag soil, right now, I'm in a situation where I may have to, because my compost isn't up to par yet, I may have to do certain things. But I'm just going to, try not to do that. I'm going to try to, because I want to grow some good, healthy, nutritional food. And if I can't have that in a container, then that's going to be a big, big deal for me. A big deal. And I was just wondering, is anybody else out there container gardening? If you're thinking about what's coming, and do you think that's going to affect you, or you just going to use what's available, or any changes that you might want to make? And those are the changes that I want to make. And it's important to me, because with 131 containers, it's a big deal for my garden. And I got to be careful of what I buy now and check it out. Don't just go in there, oh, give me 5 or 6 bags of this, or no, I can't do that anymore, because I've got to get one. And the problem is, if you can go, that I'm finding, if you don't just go in there and get what you need, you come back later, they don't even have anymore. So, but I don't care. They cannot have any more all they want to. But I'm just going to go ahead, get it, try it out. So far, I've already seen 2 that one of them was terrible. The other one, I'm noticing stuff in there that wasn't in there before. So I'm seeing differences. So I think that for me, I'm really going to be careful. I'm really going to be picky about it. And I'm really going to try to do some new things, and I'm kind of repeating myself from last time. But I added in the stuff. Let's see here. Lynette Gaskins, my concern would be the product harboring ants, termites, and infesting plants. And you know, that's a real concern. That's a real concern. Um, People don't think about that, what you bring it into your garden. And like I had said in the last live that I did, that I had saw that Farmer 73, and that he had got a bag and it had termites in it. Well, had he not looked at that soil and put that into his garden, just think of the disaster that would have happened to his garden. They could have destroyed. If you have raised beds, they can destroy your home. Now you got this infestation that you've got to deal with. I mean, yeah, I don't blame you, Lynette. That's a big concern, to be concerned with ants or whatever else you might bring into your garden. And you know, one thing I noticed when you talk about ants, and this is not soil, but this is something that I did bring into my garden, and I was sorry that I did. I had there was a place that we could go in town and get free wood chips. And so when I was setting up my cattle panel garden, and I wanted the wood chips on the there was grass there originally, and I put in cardboard and everything, and then I put wood chips on top of it. Those wood chips had ants. And when I was getting them, I didn't see the ants. But after that, I now have ants in my garden. I had ants before, but not how I have ants now. I mean, they're not like in my pots, infesting my pots or whatever. Because when I get them, when I see a large thing of ants, like one time there was 2 ant hills. We don't have what kind of ants do you call those ones that bite you? We don't have those kind of ants. But I saw some ant hills here, and I put some stuff on them. This was some years ago. I put some stuff on them, and I know that it killed them ones in those hills. I had one in one area over here, and then I had one way in another area, the ant hills. And I put that stuff on them, and it took about maybe 3 or 4 days. It was like a bait type thing. And that hill just sunk right down, killed them. So when I see stuff, I try to deal with it because I don't want it to keep getting worse if I can help it. Let's see, Pamela, Plant, what state are you in? I'm in upstate New York, zone 6A and B. And what state are you guys in? Or is growing zone? Yeah, so that's a very good point. And I was so sorry. I didn't go back and get any more of those wood chips. So you can bring stuff into your garden. That's why if you can use stuff that's already in your garden, and you know, I don't use chemicals in here, I don't have this, I don't have that, why not use that stuff in your container? You know what I'm saying? Oh, you in Florida. Oh, yeah, Florida. 9B. Yes. So, you know, think about that. And it's really a scary thing to me. This whole thing is scary. It's scary because it's going to be a big change for me. Oh, Tennessee. Okay, Pamela. Tennessee, zone 6B. Okay. You know, so that's why I keep talking about it, because I realize for my garden, this is a big deal. You know, I have used in the past a whole bunch of bags, soils, and brought them in and filled my containers and all that. Well, thank God, you know, I didn't buy the cheapest thing out there, but thank God that I didn't bring in any problems, because I always knew stay away from them ones, that little cheap stuff, that you can stay away from that. I knew that for me. I'm not judging anybody else. But let me cut this off. So I didn't bring anything in with that. But another thing, and I mean, we can talk about other things here. We don't have to just talk about this. I'm opening this chat up to discussing for our gardens and concerns or whatever that we may have, because I've already had said what I wanted to say about alternatives for the peat moss. But another thing is be careful of where you buy your plants, because one time, and I can't prove this, but it's what I think. But one time I got the Mosiac virus in here on my watermelons. And I did a video on that. And you can look at it, and it shows you the Mosiac virus. And I went through everything about the Mosiac virus because I had never even heard of it. But my watermelons look terrible. And so I tried to think, now, where did I get this? How did I never had this in here before. And then I thought about that year. I had a lot going on because I was creating a whole new garden area, and I just couldn't do all them seedlings and all that stuff. And I had went and bought seedlings. And I believe that is where I got that Mosiac virus from. And so now I'm hesitant, even though last year, let's see what we have here. Fire ants. Yeah, that's it. Fire ants. Well, we don't have those here. We just have regular ants, but they're still a problem. And they can come into your house too, because I've had that problem. But I lost what I was talking about. Oh, the Mosiac virus. But I believe I brought that into my garden. So I took my grow bag, and it had brand new, nice soil that I had put in there, paid good money for it. And I took that whole thing and threw it away. I threw the soil away and the grow bag away. I wasn't going to try to wash it, clean it, nothing, or try to let the virus sizzle out. I just got rid of it because I thought to myself, this is not something that I want going all around my garden. Now, sometimes you get little stuff, because sometimes I've seen little spots and stuff on different plants and knew that it was something. But it hasn't really been bad. And it hasn't been anything like how that Mosiac virus was when I brought that stuff in here, and how bad that one was on the melons and how terrible they looked. And I thought to myself, no, I don't want to do that. So that's making me now, even though I get, doing all the seedlings, all that work, getting them ready and all that, I try not to bring that stuff into my garden, because that can be very expensive if you have a container garden and you get infected with that. So, and also when you see disease leaves on your stuff, get the disease leaves and dispose of them, not in your compost. Take them and put them in the garbage. And also disinfect your tools. Don't go from plant to plant to plant, because you're just going to spread it all over the place. So what I do is I keep a bucket with a lid on it in my garden, and I have bleach in there, and I go and I take my tool and I wash my tool off in that bleach water, and that's what I do, because and you know what? It's worked. It's worked. Cutting off them dead leaves, disposing of them. Don't just leave that stuff on there. Now, the one thing I found that I do leave on there is the powdery mildew. if I can spray that or something like with some type of natural, I haven't used the hydrogen peroxide like that in my garden if I had to, but I really, oh, gardening with Lisa. Hello, Miss Cynthia in chat. Hi. Good to see you. I had an awful time here with buffering. I'm gonna delete that other one, y'all. I'm gonna delete it. But go ahead and give me the thumbs up. Give me the thumbs up, you guys. I've had a rough night here with all this buffering. So anyway, that's something that we can just talk about, whatever gardening concerns that you guys may have. That are you worried about this peat moss being banned in the UK and that it's coming over here most likely because they're already doing research in North Carolina on the soilless mixes over there of what they can use instead of peat. And you better believe the reason they're doing it is because they know it's coming. And they say there's about 5 scientists in these universities in the USA that are doing research on this because they know, okay, we got to give them something to fill this void. And that's what concerns me. What are they going to give us to fill that void? So I'm going to be doing things a little different on my in my garden because I'm very not really trusting what I can get in a bag, especially since I got a bag that was awful. Whole bag of wood chips. If I want to buy wood chips, I'll go buy a bag of wood chips. If I'm buying potting soil, I don't want a bag of wood chips. I'm not buying wood chips. I don't know about anybody else, but I think there's a difference. And so anyway, that is something that we can think about. And also what you're bringing into your garden, what things you buy. Last year I bought, and I was very hesitant because I told you before, I believe that I brought that Mosiac virus in here when I had bought those starts. And last year I bought only herbs because I had tried to grow, I'm trying to think, what is it, sage? My sage didn't do well, and my rosemary took a long time. So I remember I bought some of those. And I was thinking to myself when I bought them, boy, I sure hope this stuff doesn't have anything that I'm bringing into my garden. So, think about that. Think about stuff that you bring into your garden. If that stuff could have something that you bring it in there. And that was a good thing that you talked about, Lynette, of the ants or termites or something like that. And if you think, oh, no, that's not a thing that can happen. Yes, it's a thing that can happen because Lead Farmer 73 had bought a bag of soil that had termites in it. So that's something that can happen. So just think about these things. Just getting me a little tea here. So gardening with Lisa, I bought a bag of potting soil from Walmart, and the bag looked, what's that word? Resealed. And the bag was full of wood chips. See? We got to be so careful. Don't just go buying stuff because you're in a hurry. And this is something I'm talking to myself also, to anybody. Don't just go buy something because we're in a hurry. I got to hurry and get this stuff. Slow down, because in the long run, it could cost you a lot of money if you mess around and get some kind of infestation, or you mess around and get some kind of disease running rampant in your garden. And then when they're giving you a bag of wood chips, if you want to buy a bag of wood chips, You'll buy a bag of wood chips. But let me see, I bought a bag of potting soil. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what happened to me. I bought a bag of potting soil. And then I opened the bag up to use it. And then I put the stuff in my hand and I said, this is wood chips. But see, this is what this research over in the North Carolina University, that's what they're talking about. That they're going to be replacing this stuff with wood. I don't like that at all. Lynette, Miss Cynthia, disease leaves should not be placed in the compost materials also. Right. Don't put them disease leaves in there. I put that whole bag when I had got that Mosiac virus, and I did a video on that. Check that out if you haven't seen it, because you'll see how that was on them watermelons. They look terrible. But I took that whole thing, grow bag, soil, and I had bought some good soil, filling that up and everything. I threw that whole thing out, not in my compost, no way, in a sealed bag, and put it in the trash. Yes, you do not put that in your compost. And that's why I'm afraid, because I have a lot of leaves on my property. I have a lot of trees. And I'm afraid to use the leaves because somebody around me got a tree and it has spots on the leaves. And the spots, I know that's some kind of disease. And I had said this before in my last video. And I'm afraid to put that in my compost, but yet I want to use the leaves. So what I've been doing, and I did in the fall, was when my trees dropped their leaves, I ran right out there with bags and got that up right quick before their stuff can blow over here and mix in with mine. So, but I think this time I'm going to do a little test, because I'm really going to want to make more compost. Yeah, she's right. She's talking to Lisa, talking about the wood chips. Yes, it is frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And also when you're paying good money for it. See, that bag of soil that I bought it last season so I can use it now. And I paid good money for that soil. And then when I'm opening it up and seeing, and this is a brand of soil that I had used before that didn't have all that in it before. It wasn't a bag of wood chips before. This is something that this new change that's coming down. And see, that's why I say I see potential for a lot of abuse here. I see potential for a lot of abuse, because I can see companies, not every company, because every company is not bad, but the bad companies. I can see them taking this and putting wood chips in there when they don't really have to. You know, the peat moss isn't banned yet. You could even if you wanted to cut back on the peat moss, but still a bag of wood chips and then still have people not paying what they used to pay, but increasing the price, and you're giving them a bag of wood chips. So I can see that potential. That's why I say buyer beware. Check this stuff that you're getting. Gardening with Lisa, yes, very frustrating, because I wanted it sift it for winter sowing. Okay. Yeah. And I don't care what anybody says. Your plants don't grow as well in that. And then when I think about nutrition and life in your soil, I wonder if there's any in there at all. Because from what I'm seeing, it's certain kinds of wood that I don't know enough about this. Experts will know, but it's like you can't just throw wood chips in there. There's certain wood in certain conditions that wood may have something available to the plants, but in a certain other form, it doesn't. Because I remember reading that somewhere. And that's another thing. So I just felt like that soil that I had that was wood chips, that didn't have anything good in it. No. You think that these people who are taking advantage of demand, because that's what it is, high demand, and there's a lot of one of the things that I read talked about this different thing that has been legalized now, and I'm not going to call it out, but talked about that's another reason that the demand is also so high for these bag products. And when you think of companies that will take advantage of that and just try to give you any old thing and say, oh, it's because peat has been, we got to save the peat lands and peat is going to be banned and blah, blah. But yet they still charging you the same price that they would charge you if a peat was in there. So I don't like that. I just don't like it. I don't like when, we as consumers are being taken advantage of. Lisa, I need to build me a sifter of some sort for woody bag soil. Yeah, and I had talked about this a little bit in my last video, and that is, what are you getting? What are you getting? Okay, if you're getting a woody bag soil and you sifting it, but when you sift it, what is that? That's my concern. What is that? And is there any life in that? Because I believe if you use a bad wood product and some of that wood is broken down, but some of that wood didn't break down, it's still a bad wood product. So that's just something, a thought that goes through my mind for my garden. And I try not to buy soils that I have to sift because even before this peat moss thing, it always was in my mind, what am I getting here? Once this is sifted, what is left? So I don't know. Oh, okay. So you too. Okay, you said me too. So yeah. Yeah. So I just think whatever you can afford to get, because I do know, everybody, we got our own pocketbook and we know what we can do and what we can't do. So if that's all you can do is get the inexpensive thing, if that's all you can do is get the thing that has all the wood chips in it, that's all you can do. If that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do. I understand that. But like I said, buyer beware, because you do not want to be growing food that your food is worse than the stuff in the store. You don't want that. And what I mean by that is nutrition. Because I repeated this in case anybody didn't see that last live I did. And that is, you can have food that can look good, but can be nutritionally dead food. And if you don't know anything about this type of thing, that back to Eden movement, and where food is dead or food can be alive. Even though I'm in a container, I still want life going into my food. If there's life in my soil and life goes into my whatever I'm growing in there, and life goes into me. But I'm getting nothing. Dead food. So that's something that I think about. And with these new changes that they're going to be coming up with, and we had a young lady in here on the last live, and she's from the UK, and she talked about the soil that she's getting over there is horrible. Horrible now compared to what she was able to get before. And I'm telling you, I could feel her pain on that. Corey K, hi all. Sorry I missed so much. Will definitely be replaying. Oh, don't worry about it. I had such a disaster. Buffering so bad on that. The first one I did, I'm going to delete that one. And then I'm probably going to take out parts of this one in the beginning, because I was just waiting to see, was it still buffering, or was I just going to have to just give up on trying to do a live at all. So now I'm not buffering, but I had never had the problem with buffering before inside my home. I've had that happen outside. So don't worry about it, because I hate to say, but this one didn't go the way I wanted it to go. It did not go the way I wanted it to go. So I'm just going to talk about here the this Dr. Jackson over at North Carolina University. This is what he's saying. That he says the most probable thing that they're going to be going with is engineered wood fibers to fill the void when the peat is gone, when they can't use that anymore, because of the increased demand, because that's something that is highly, they can get a hold of. Let's see, gardening with Lisa. Oh, your internet is bad tonight too. Oh, wow. Might be something going on. Yeah, so that's telling you right there. We're going to get the wood. We're going to get that. Now, when they say engineered wood fibers, who knows what that is? That's a whole bunch of words there, but the layperson, we don't know what that is. But the word engineered is a red flag to me, because that, to me, that means something somebody done made. And I know for me, when people start, I always tell different people in my family, I say, get the stuff that is as natural as you can get it. The minute people go to doing something to something, the worse that thing becomes. And what I mean by that, say, for instance, if you were going to buy, I don't know, some type of food item, it's best to get the basic food item. Don't get the one that they did this, that, and the other to. Because when they did this, that, and the other to it, they have now made it unhealthy. And I'm thinking this along the same lines with this word engineered wood fibers to fill the void. That's where he's saying it's probably going to go. And he's one of the top people in this country out of the 5 that are working on this. He's one of them. So he says there's a lot of potential in true non-composted wood fibers. So what does that mean? Is that stuff that I got in my bag that was all those wood chips? Was that non-composted wood? I don't know. It seemed like it was something. That's why I say when you sift in that stuff, okay, you got some of that stuff that didn't break down, But that other stuff is composted. So that's why I'm saying, well, what are you getting? Because he's talking about non-composted. Well, to me, that's composted. So I don't know. I don't have an answer to this. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just a gardener with 131 containers and very concerned. Very concerned. So I'm just talking about it because I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about the differences that I've seen. Gardening with Lisa, faux wood. That right there is bad. Bad, bad, bad. We need to start making our own compost as much as we possibly can. Yes, we do. That's one of the things that I talked about in my last live. That's what I talked about. I've got to be on it with this compost, and I want a lot of it because I'm going to need a lot of it. And I'm also going to take some of my native soil and I'm putting some of that in my containers because it has some life in it. And I want to put life in my containers so that there's life in what I grow and life goes into me and anybody else that I give something out of my garden to. So yes, and we are at their mercy. We at their mercy. But if you have land, no matter how big your garden may be, your yard may be, if you have soil, you do have some soil. You can do something to that soil to bring it up. And that's what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing. I got a shift here. That's what I'm thinking that I'm going to be doing. I know that's what I'm going to be doing. I shouldn't be saying thinking. I know that's what I'm going to be doing and using that because I feel it's healthier for me. I know what's out here. I haven't put any chemicals out there in years and years, over 20 years, probably no chemicals out there that I've put out there. You know, I talked about that I put something out there for the ants, the ant bait when I had some ants one time, but that wasn't even in my garden. But it was 2 little piles out there, not fire ants. We don't have fire ants. But I think that was probably the last time, and I don't know how many years ago that was. And I have used the organic stuff in my garden, which I'm gonna stop trying to use that. Because I told a little story. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I told the story in my last live about how I had cooked the greens that I got from my garden, and I had fell asleep and they burned in the pot. And then when I was getting it out, all I could smell was neem oil. All I could smell was neem oil. And boy, that really turned me off because I said, now I know how to wash and clean some greens. My grandmama taught me that good. And I smelled nothing when I was washing those. But yet, when they burned, it must have soaked into them. So when they burned, then it was released. And that really showed me something. That showed me something. And that made a big difference in me thinking, do I want to use this anymore? I have to, instead of having something be your first thing that you go to, got to be my last thing. I got to have some serious infestation. I don't want to have to use that. Oh, okay. You working on your compost too. Yeah. You know, and so that's what I want to try to spend my money on. Instead of spending my money on this bag soil, I want to try to spend my money on getting, because I got to have my compost enclosed in containers because of the field mice and the other critters that the when I did the compost piles, was they were coming and eating all the stuff, and there wasn't no meat and there wasn't none of that in there. Field mice don't eat meat; they're vegetarians. They're after those vegetables. And then there was other stuff coming, deer, all kind of stuff. So that was bringing that stuff to my garden. And I don't want that. So my stuff is going to be closed in. So I'm going to be spending my money on getting these types of things so that I can have this stuff closed in so that I can have a decent amount of compost. And it's going to take a while for me to get there. It'll take a while for me to get there, but that's my goal. And I'm working on that. Let's see. Okay, talking about working on compost. Yeah, so that's just something for people to think about. I know a lot of times people, this is what I'm trying to say. Don't trust what the bag says. I told the story last time about the fake food. I saw the video and they showed how they can put something on a label that's not even in there. It's not even in there, but they have it on the label. And I believe this to be true. And it talked about that out of what's being brought into this country, only 2% is being checked by the FDA. 2%. That means 98% is not even being checked. So don't be so trusting. That's what I'm saying. Well, no, we got to get something. We got to use something. Yes. Test that stuff out. And if it seems like it's bad, it probably is bad. Yes. I make my weed fertilizer. I put in dandelions because I found out that tap root of that dandelion goes down, down, down deep and gets all them nutrition, good things up. And I have read and found out, I didn't know it had so many medicinal things also. So people call that a weed, but that's actually a good thing. Dandelions. And I put my dandelions in there. I put my kitchen scraps in there. I also put, I'm going to be adding my grass with my clover because I found out how good clover is. And I've been using that. And if you look at my harvest from last season, you will see. You will see. That's what I did. And I had a bumper crop. Very blessed season. So I want to continue in the same way, using natural as I can. Natural as I can. And being aware that because something says something on the label doesn't mean that that's necessarily true. Okay, well, do we have any questions or anybody that want to comment on what I'm saying? And I thank you all for joining me here. And sorry, and I apologize for anybody who had been here when I was having such a problem with the buffering. I'm so sorry about that. And I'll just have to, get rid of that. Ones that look bad, I'm just going to delete anything like that. So I thank you so much for joining me here. And if there's no more questions or anything that you want to share, then I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream. And I thank you so much for joining me. And if you haven't already hit the thumbs up, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much for hitting the thumbs up. Love getting on here and interacting with people. And this is going to be my last live that I'm going to be talking about this issue with the peat moss. I brought it all the way from the beginning to talking about how what they're thinking about is going to solve the problem. So I gave you the problem, and now this is what they're thinking about doing. So I'm done with that. So it's going to be up to each and every one of you. Seed, soil, and sunshine. Hi. Good evening. I'm late. We'll catch the replay. It's good to see you. Glad you came in. I had a disastrous night, so a lot of buffering. And the first one I had to this is the second one because the first one I'm gonna get rid of, and I'm gonna probably get rid of some of this because I didn't know if I was still buffering or not. But anyway, thank you guys, and good night to everyone. Yeah, it was a rough one. I had all notes and everything, but I was so shaken up. I was so shaken up from how it all went, and I don't. It was a mess. So anyway, but we all learn. Good night. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. Okay. Bye bye.